Hi, it's Jonathan here, and I was going to have an interactive discussion about overcoming limiting beliefs. And I think due to the time zone, that I also changed at the last minute, which is a big no-no for video calls. I imagine that no one else was able to join, or maybe some people wanted to hear my views anyway. So I'll share my kind of take on the overcoming limiting beliefs topic, and hope this adds some value to the Think Up group. So here I am in Florida at the World Championships. Every year I flip a coin, and for the last 13 years I've chosen between heads and tails, which has been something that I'm scared of or unable to do, or fundamentally unsuited to do. And so the first year was swim the English Channel or run the London Marathon, bearing in mind that I was over 35 kilos heavier than I am today. And it landed on marathon, and then that happened in 2006, and then since then I've overcome many limiting beliefs of things that I can't do, including learning many languages and writing a Sunday Times best-selling book, bearing in mind that my 4 previous books had sold virtually no copies, and I wasn't actually that good a writer. And then there's been all kinds of things. Radical forgiveness. So I went and radically forgave every single person that had tormented me in my past to their face. And all of these coin flips essentially put me into a position of needing to overcome my limiting beliefs, because they started from a position of me not actually being able to do something. With this martial art, for instance, 2 New Year's Eves ago, the coin flip was between spending 4 months in a Tibetan Trappist monastery, where you don't speak, you just meditate 12 hours a day and eat rice and drink water, or get selected for World Championships in a martial art that I've never done before. And it landed on tails. So then I went to my kickboxing guys and said, what martial art should I do? And they said jiu-jitsu. And so I started jiu-jitsu, and then realized that the only way of getting into the world team is to get to become the British, to win the British nationals, to become the British champion. So 7 months after starting jiu-jitsu, I arrive at the Bury Leisure Centre in Manchester to compete in the nationals against people who've been doing jiu-jitsu for 15, 20, 25, 30 years, 40 years, and won that. And then basically got selected for the World Championships team. And then last New Year's Eve, because I then the coin flip was done, right? So I'm not thinking to myself, oh, now I need to keep training, because I'd already got selected. So it's like end of coin flip. So then the remaining 6 months of the year, I enjoy all the pizza and the beer in the land, and then gets New Year's Eve just gone, and it's between heads, actually fighting the World Championships, or tails. I think it was either do some kind of crazy space jump or climb El Capitan without ropes or something. Anyway, so I ended up landing heads, and then called up the team coach and said, I said I wasn't going to compete in the World Championships. Well, I'm going to now. So can I have a place? And he said, yeah, it's still your place. So that was 7 months ago, and here I am in Florida, wearing the GB kits, equipment, and so yeah, just ready to go. And we've been, this is an exact example of overcoming limiting beliefs, because there is no way that you can get selected for a World Championships team in a martial art you've never done before. It's just not done. But equally, nor is writing a Sunday Times best-selling book if you've never actually written a book that anyone's bought before, apart from your mum. So it's been a weird case study, I guess, of myself, of overcoming limiting beliefs. And what I've learned is what I wanted to share with you now, in case that's of any value. I used to think, and if you Google search overcoming limiting beliefs, you'll hear life coaches speaking about, oh well, actually it's really easy. You just need to think positive thoughts, and that didn't seem to cut it for me. Then some people say you need to break down your limiting beliefs into why that they are limiting beliefs, and that I kind of bought into, and so I've had a psychotherapist for 9 years, and so I spoke to my psychotherapist about my limiting beliefs, and so we did some work on that. But the thing that actually did it, to be honest, was none of some of those things, but the real thing was actually having an objective that was clear and divorced of the limiting beliefs whilst being set. So when I was able to say, okay, I know that I can't do this, can't do that, can't do that, can't do. I'm not good enough to do this. I'm too fat to do this. I'm too old to do this. I'm too black to do this. I'm too whatever. All of those things to one side. What do I actually want to do? And the coin flips have been helpful with that, because they forced the choice. Where the coin lands has been the set objective for me, and so having the clarity of objective to actually say, right, well, this is what I'm actually going to do. Then, as step one, having the clarity of that objective, divorced from what I'm unable to do, having that clarity of objective enabled me to then retrospectively look back at what beliefs I needed to hold to enable the objective to happen. All the time, of course. I mean, bearing in mind, I couldn't run a mile when I ran the London Marathon. When that landed on the flip, so I, my limiting belief was I can't run a mile, so I certainly can't run 26.2 miles, and so I was thinking, right, but what would I have to believe for this coin flip to actually succeed? And if you think about it as an analogy or as a toolkit in your own life, what would the belief need to be? So let's say you run a company, a startup, and you're looking at what Facebook are doing or Google are doing and thinking, oh, look, there's no way I'm going to be able to compete with these guys because I'm doing something that they could theoretically do. All they're going to do eventually is just see what we're doing and there's still our idea, or something like that, or the investors aren't going to believe in this. That would then be put to one side and think, okay, for us, what we're trying to achieve, let's say, is we are trying to achieve to have 1 million customers that are loyal to us because we're adding value to their lives in such a way that's resonant. And we need a cash flow in the bank so that we can actually grow and scale. So that's what we actually need. What beliefs do I need to enable those things to happen? Is the belief that Facebook will eventually see what we're doing and steal the idea going to enable the 1 million customers and cash? Which bit's it going to help? And of course, the answer is neither. However, we may have a valid point in being curious as to what potential competition could do, but that, as soon as it enables paralysis, then that's not necessarily being productively paranoid. It's being destructively paranoid or counterproductively paranoid. Being productively paranoid means, yeah, okay, Facebook could see this and then do this. So therefore, to get to our million customers or million users and our cash in the bank, before Facebook see what we're doing, we need to act in a way that brings this to market as fast as humanly possible, or maybe we can tweak it so it looks more like a Trojan horse, and so no one actually would look at it and immediately see what we're doing. Maybe we can do it as a slightly more covert mechanism. But either way around, now we're in the productive beliefs. Now we're in the limitless beliefs. We're turning what was a limiting belief in terms of, oh, well, Facebook are going to do this, to something that is much more productive for us. For me, with the marathon, flip one, my limiting belief of not being able to run a mile wouldn't have helped me commit to running 26.2 miles, the length of the marathon. That wouldn't have been productive. It was very limiting. And so I thought, well, okay, what would I need to believe then? Well, what I'd need to believe is that you're able to just run 1 mile, and if you train enough and you really commit to it, then it's likely that you can run 2. And if you can run 2, then you've actually doubled your capacity within, let's say, 3 weeks time or 2 weeks time. So suddenly within 14 days, I've actually reached a 100% growth of my capacity. So when I get to mile 13, in theory, I'm looking for another 100% growth, as I've already done between 1 and 2 and 2 and 4 and 4 and 8. So what is stopping me do that? Okay, what's stopping me do that is time, right? So I need time. So, and then of course the limiting belief comes in and goes, this is why you can't do it. You see, this is why you can't run a marathon, because you haven't got enough time. You don't actually have the time. So you should have known all along, John, this was the wrong thing to do. And then you stop. What I did was stop myself and think, hold on, is that actually helping? Am I helping that type of process? Is it actually helping thinking that, or is this a hindrance? And I realized, of course, that it was an immediate hindrance. I didn't have enough time to train, but of course, bearing in mind that not only is time an entirely human construct and doesn't actually even exist without observation, that aside, when I then put on a spreadsheet how much time I was spending doing things, I was spending between 60 and 90 minutes per day watching crap TV. I was spending 2 hours a day watching useless social media posts. I was spending 1 hour a day eating crap food, and I was spending no hours a day running. And so I thought, wow, how, if I need to train, let's say for the sake of argument, 1 or 2 hours a day, how in all of this time that I'm using, am I going to find the time to run? And this is where it comes back to the objective, would watching 90 minutes of soap operas or 2 hours of soap operas each day help me run 26.2 miles? Would eating crap food help me run? Would spending 3 hours on social media or 2 hours on social media watching goats sound like Mariah Carey, lol, ROFL, help me run 26.2 miles? No. What would help me run 26.2 miles is actually getting out of my bed and away from the pizza and running. And that required in me an extraordinary and brand new dose of discipline, of thinking, actually, I have an objective here, so therefore I can actually find the time and make the choices. You spin forward the years to Sunday Times bestseller. When it landed on Sunday Times bestseller, the alternative version to that was, I think, was to do some horrible boating mission, like around the world, single-handed type boating thing. And actually, I couldn't really write that well. So a limiting belief was I couldn't really write that well. And it's like, well, why can't I write that well? Well, I haven't really practiced writing. And my experience from writing hasn't produced those great results. And that's because I didn't actually work at it. So how can I work at it? So I went to writing courses and I learned how to write better. And I looked into what made a good book sell. And so I became super geeky about this, and then realized that it's the application of that geekiness of finding out how things work and then tuning myself around it. And then I started to write more and more and more and more and submit things to various different publishers and agents and see what people thought. And then found that, of course, the route in is actually through the marketing angle from the publisher's perspective, because marketing sells the books. The writing doesn't necessarily sell it. If you're a celebrity, the writing definitely doesn't sell it. But if you're a celebrity, the celebrity sells it. If you're not a celebrity, then it's the marketing of the book, because if the book isn't marketed right, then the book's dead in the water, even if it's the biggest manna from heaven. So I had to learn these things, and I've realized that actually it was possible to write a book that becomes a Sunday Times bestseller when I understood the mechanisms of the entire machinery. And this happened with the jiu-jitsu that I'm doing here in Florida, training for the World Championships, or just about to compete in the World Championships. Every single coin flip has started with a limiting belief and resulted in the execution of the flip, the objective, and an abolishment of the limiting belief. And now some people say, Yeah, but you're lucky because you don't have a normal job which takes up all of your time and the huge commitment for family and mortgage and kids. Well, actually, I do have the latter. I do have a family and mortgage and kids. And firstly, actually not having a proper job can be an enormous struggle because I don't necessarily have a guaranteed paycheck all of the time. Yeah, but you see, the thing is with John, you are fortunate because you managed to find a career that you love doing, but not all of us are that fortunate. Well, and to which I would say, well, A, that's limiting belief. B, the career that I've had, I created myself. I found what I really loved doing and then geeked out on how to make that monetizable and then lent into it and spent less time doing things that were unfruitful and counterproductive and more time enabling that dream career to come reality. Of course, people don't actually see that the first 5 years of that, I've spent money to do this. I put things on credit cards and took loans out to get myself into the position to do that. Because the thing is that to execute on your limiting beliefs to become real and to become limitless beliefs, it does actually require accountability and it does require investment. And so I don't buy the opposition of the fact that, or the supposition that limiting beliefs are just the way things are in my life, John. I think we all can overcome limiting beliefs, and I am yet to find a situation, unless the limiting belief is flying without wings. But even then, you can have, there's ways of doing it. But there are the type of limiting beliefs that I've noticed have been normally around, I can't do that because ... And what we do is we then build an entire argument structure to justify a limiting belief. And that's one of the key things about limiting beliefs is that they're not based on reason. They're not based on rationale. They're not necessarily based on us intellectually modeling what makes that limiting belief true. What we do is we pick a limiting belief that enables us sometimes to keep within a comfort zone that we feel stuck within, but we don't then really analyze the stuckness. We don't think to ourselves oftentimes, well, this belief of mine, have I really drilled down into the construct of that? So what actually was the original reason for that belief, and what was the roadmap to this belief actually happening? But even then, my view, and it's for different people, is that if we have clarity of objective, a purposeful objective that we have actually committed to in our heads, then we can run back to the limiting belief and say, right, so I know exactly what it is that I'm trying to achieve, and I have no question of that being the objective. Therefore, my only questions are whether the beliefs that I have are actually enabling this to happen. And I apologize for people who may be watching this thinking, where's everyone else on the call? It turned out no one else was able to make the time frame, but I'm glad that there's a load of people now watching live, which is great. But this now has turned into a keynote as opposed to a discussion. So please do comment in the comment fields either now or later when you see this video. I would love to have a future conversation about limiting beliefs. But if I was to summarize the coin flips and their impact on limiting beliefs in my life, I would say that these 4 steps of the model that I actually went through in retrospect. And so I accidentally landed on these 4 things, and they just seem to have been the way of getting through the limiting beliefs. The first one is when I actually landed the coin on one side or another, I blindly committed to that objective as being the objective, not thinking, oh my God, I can't do that. Actually, that's the reason why it was on the coin flip in the first place. Not, oh, well, actually, I preferred the other flip side, or, oh, that sounds way too hard. Oh my God, I can't believe I chose that coin flip. Or, and bear in mind, I do it on New Year's Eve. Oh my God, I'll tell you what, why don't I have another glass of champagne? Because to be honest with you, when they've landed on physical objectives, I haven't had the second glass of champagne, because the second glass of champagne to be valid in my life would be only needed if it enabled the coin flip to actually be executed. So if the coin flip would not be helped with the champagne, there's no more champagne. You blindly commit. This is point one of the four. I blindly committed to the coin flip objective, the coin flip landing point, without any form of question as to whether or not that was what I really wanted to do or not. So commitment, which includes accountability, by the way. Number two, and what's what I found extremely useful, was find the best expert I could in the field of what the flip landed onto, and cozy up to them. So in the marathon world, I found someone through one Runner's World magazine in a forum. Through languages, I found various different apps and people who helped. Through jiu-jitsu, I found the best jiu-jitsu instructors. Through everything has been finding, so commitment to the objective. Second is finding the expert and cozying up to them and becoming an absolute sponge as to what they know, because we don't know what we don't know, right? So there's 1% of stuff we know, 1% of stuff we know we don't know, and 98% of stuff we don't know. So that's point two. Point three is question every single belief and thoughts that we have that could potentially limit us as to whether or not it is valid to execute the objective. So this is the point I was making earlier. So, and it's the one that I found first. I then realized that actually I was also committing to this and finding an expert naturally. So the third point is questioning those beliefs, and that's where the limiting beliefs part comes in. And the fourth is to relentlessly keep going, because the thing with questioning limiting beliefs in objectives that have been insurmountable tasks in our past is that about 2 weeks in, I found there's a honeymoon period of about 2 weeks where it's a new thing, it's a new language, it's a new startup idea, it's a new project, it's a new martial arts, it's a new whatever. 2 weeks in, things start to hurt. It starts to hurt. It just becomes hard work. If you have to lose, as I did, 10 kilos in weight just to get into the nationals, let alone the next 8 kilos to get into the worlds, you know, that 18 kilo drop it doesn't come free. It's, you know, the discipline to not have the extra slice or the extra beer or to go on juice fasts or to that stuff. This is what I'm talking about. Relentlessly execute. It's not the first 2 weeks that counts. I mean, I've often joked about an idea of launching a gym on New Year's Day called Resolutions, and it's a gym for 2 weeks, and then it turns into a bar for the next 50 weeks of the year. And that's one of the realities of us. And we tend to get into something. We buy the exercise equipment, and then 2 weeks later we look at our stomach and it's still the same size, and we're like, this is crap. You know, I'm put it on eBay, right? This is why the best time to buy exercise equipment is in week 3 of January. This is an example of when we need to relentlessly execute, and extraordinary things happen. And no, when I ran the London Marathon, I was 136 kilos. So if you think you're too fat to run 26.2 miles, I can guarantee you, and I have the medal to prove it, you're not. I can't write a best-selling book because no one's bought my previous books. To be honest with you, it's probably a good thing because I know pretty much how not to write a book. So it turns out now I know how to. I can't learn a language because I was crap at languages at school. Or I can't, you know, compete in a martial art I've never done before because I've never done that martial art, and you need to be 10 years into it to know what you're doing. Well, no, you can hack that too. And I'm not suggesting, by the way, that masters aren't people who've practiced something 10,000 hours. What I'm suggesting is that if you have an objective in mind that you absolutely have clarity on, then those four aspects in terms of blindly committing to that objective as being the objective, getting the expert that absolutely and utterly is the expert in all of those things, you start that path on that kind of system of four to then question any beliefs that don't serve, and then relentlessly execute in a way that assures an outcome more than any limiting belief seduces us to believing it's bullshit. And this isn't because I'm so much braver than anyone, or much fitter than anyone, or much more intelligent than anyone, or I've been lucky and put myself in the right position. I think committing to something that you're scared of or you think can't be done is possibly the opposite of an intelligent choice, and it certainly doesn't involve physical fitness or any form of a mental agility. It doesn't involve having a certain financial cushion. In 2006, I was just getting over being totally screwed by my business partner. I was living on credit cards and begging, literally begging the banks to stay afloat with 2 young children and a very, very angry wife at the time. None of this stuff has come from being fortunate. All of the stuff has come from questioning limiting beliefs, and committing, finding experts, seeing whether the beliefs I have will enable the objectives to happen, and then not stopping. Anyway, sorry I've been ranting. It's 26 minutes now of absolute monologue, totally unscripted. What I was actually going to do was have a conversation with some of you guys, but as I see, there's been a boatload of people now watching and joining and stuff like that, which is cool. But next up is, according to the votes on Think Up, is controlling our thoughts. As ever, this is a democracy, so if you don't agree with that being the next topic, then please do vote another one up, or choose your own one and get all your mates to vote that up instead. Yeah, I shall see you next time on Think Up, and I hope this adds some value with you in some way, whether you're helping someone with their limiting beliefs or you're handling your own limiting beliefs. We have options, and I hope this helps in some way. See you soon on thinkup.tv or the Facebook group. Either way, I'll see you then.